Hey there, welcome back to Badass Messaging. We're in Module 2, Shifting Beliefs. And here in Lesson 2, we're talking about the concept that people need the right belief. So what we're going to talk about in this lesson is help you understand why you need to be thinking about beliefs in your messaging. So the goal of messaging is to shift your people's beliefs to get them into action solving their problems. That's the big truth bomb for this lesson. Let's talk about what you'll learn. So in this lesson, you'll learn why you need to be thinking about shifting beliefs and then the role your messaging needs to play in the belief shifting. So that's what we're going to talk about. Let's dive in. Let's start with why you need to shift beliefs. And this one's actually pretty simple. It's this concept. You can't change people's actions until you change their beliefs. Again, if you want people to do something different, you have to change what they believe to get them to take different actions. And that's because beliefs lead to actions. Now, we could go even, earlier than beliefs, and we could talk about thoughts and all those things, but ultimately, we form beliefs about things, and those beliefs then lead us to take the actions that we take. So here's an example of this. The belief among entrepreneurs that there's one right approach to building an online business causes the action of hopping from strategy to strategy, right? So because they believe there is one right approach, when they try one strategy and it doesn't work, they say, okay, well, that's not the right approach, so let me go to a different one. They're just thinking, I need to find the one right approach. And all the actions come from this belief that what they need to be looking for is the one right approach. So again, when we go back to the model that beliefs lead to actions, an important shift that you need to make is that you can't spend all your time talking about the actions being wrong. Instead, you have to focus on the beliefs and spend your time trying to change those beliefs. So instead of just arguing, hey, don't hop from strategy to strategy, what I have to do is change people's belief that there's one right approach to choose. In other words, if I get them to stop believing that there is one right approach, that will then stop the activity of hopping from strategy to strategy because they're no longer in this way of thinking of saying what I have to do is find the right belief. So you can kind of see how this process is going to work. So in other words, to change people's behavior, you have to change their beliefs. And so that's why this concept of belief shifting is so important. Now let's dive into the role of messaging in belief shifting. Because hopefully at this point you say, okay, I got to shift beliefs. Let's talk about how messaging fits in. Well, your messaging is how you help your audience shift their beliefs. In many ways, the messaging is the way. It's the most important thing you're going to do in the process of helping them shift their beliefs. And let's talk through the process of how this will work. So first, you have to identify the beliefs that need to be shifted. So in other words, you're going to have to identify what is it that your audience believes that is wrong. So that's step one. Then step two, you're going to create what we call belief statements. Basically, you'll craft an old and new belief statement, kind of, what do they believe now and what do they need to believe instead? And those have a kind of a framework for that. We'll talk about that in a future lesson. And then you're going to make the case. You'll play the role of a lawyer making the case for the new belief, and we're going to talk about that as well. So just so you have a sense of what's coming in this module, each of the following lessons kind of goes through this. The next lesson is going to talk about identifying the beliefs. Then we're going to talk about creating the belief statements, and then finally we'll talk about how you make the case. So that's what the upcoming lessons will tackle. We'll tackle one step in the process in each lesson. So this is the process. Now, the question people ask me is, well, where should I be doing this? Where should I be shifting the beliefs? Well, you should be doing this everywhere. Your messaging about the beliefs, about the mistaken beliefs, about the mistaken approaches, those things are kind of the things that will permeate a lot of different things. Now, there will be very specific places you'll use it in product messaging, etc. But I want you to get that once you do this process of finding the beliefs that you need to shift in people, you can just start talking about these things. And if you listen to much of my messaging, much of my content out there, you'll see that I'm doing this constantly. I'm talking about the beliefs. I mean, heck, I'm doing it in this. I do it in this training and in the different trainings I do, but really everywhere I am talking to my audience, I am talking about the beliefs and trying to get people and help people to take that next step and shift their beliefs. So you should be thinking about using this everywhere. So now, the kind of big concept here is that because people's actions are dictated by their beliefs, a major role of your messaging is to shift your audience's beliefs. So that's what your messaging is about in large part. That's not the only thing, but it's a big piece of what you have to do. So instead of constantly talking about the right actions, you have to spend some time shifting beliefs. That's what we're going to be working through in this module. Now, in the next lesson, you'll discover how to identify the mistaken beliefs that are preventing your people from taking action. And I'll see you in that lesson.